And Jill Capitano, so it's being said, proposed changes to the district policy.
Let me get a presentation. All right. Good evening, everyone. Each spring, we review the code of conduct. This year, we did that on June 1st with a stakeholder committee made up of administrators, teachers, students. Jake served on that committee, community members, and a teaching staff. We reviewed the code of conduct from the 2025-2026 school year, made recommendations for the upcoming school year. Most of our revisions are based on improved language for clarity, to reflect best practices, ensure compliance with new state laws, address emerging issues in education, and balance accountability and support. You can go ahead to the next slide. Sorry, that was again, it's more than show. Move on. So you'll see the first change comes on page 3 under academic integrity. We wanted to expand some of the language around plagiarism and make sure that we include artificial intelligence tools. We already had that in there, but we felt that we needed to expand some of that language around AI use and academic honesty, specifically when it came to citing AI when AI tools are used. Moving on to student well-being and focus.
That's fine. So this is highlighted on page 4. It just changes some of the language when it said work to control your anger, and it acknowledges that there are more emotions than just anger and that students should seek support for their emotional regulation. So it just reflects more of the way that we handle those situations. It supports our school culture where we encourage students to seek out support and assistance, and there's no shame in admitting that you need help with something. And it goes along with our discipline, where a lot of times in our conversations with students, we talk about, well, what could you do differently next time? And one of those steps is often to state that you need some support, to ask for some help from an adult before handling things in a way that doesn't go. On the next slide, this is kind of cut between pages 4 and 5 of the code of conduct, but it just highlights a collaborative relationship between the parents and the school. It talks about updated expectations about holding students accountable for their homework instead of just providing an environment. It's holding them accountable for their schoolwork, and it just is to reflect clear and consistent expectations across school and the home. The next verse.
So the next one for cell phone policy updates on pages 8 and 9. Just the feedback we got from stakeholders, aligning with state law to restrict that internet-enabled device usage for the entire day. Took out the earbuds and get more restrictive into lockers based on staff feedback. We added a disciplinary progression. We felt like we didn't have a lot of leeway once we got repeat offenders, so we reduced progression to third offense to a half day of in school versus 1 day, and then same for fourth and fifth. We felt like that would give us more leverage to use those offenses. Also for the school community, just ensures the legal compliance, promotes that classroom focus and transparent communication with families. The next one I have is a new energy drink policy. This was a direct request from families. It also aligns with what the middle school did this last school year. Also, in working with Heidi Miles, she shared a lot of research about prohibiting the use of energy drinks. So that will be in effect this next school year. Again, they contain stimulants, can harm students. health, behavior, and emotional well-being. And then this enables staff to confiscate energy drinks, supports a wellness focused, safe learning.
I have this part. In talking about disruptive students, this is on page 10. It just includes the due process of those instances, not just it's time to go to the principal's office, but if the student's gonna be removed for a class period or so, if you're not coming back to this room tomorrow for that class period, there needs to be a meeting where the teacher can state what the issue is, the student can also share their side of things, and sometimes that just helps to repair the relationship in addition to still being a consequence if that's necessary. And then also is updating it, puts some more responsibility back on the staff to do these things in a timely fashion. You can't just, in the morning, oh yeah, that student's not allowed in my class today. These things have to have been done before that can take effect. And then my last slide is updates that are on page 18. The due process that Kurt is repeating, right? So they have to remove students, they're gonna have due process. Students with disabilities, I think there was some other thing. It was under the long-term suspension part that's highlighted, and people, those of us who have dealt with the long-term suspensions understand that everything that happens in a short-term suspension happens first, and then the long-term stuff kicks in, but at our table, as we were discussing, it was clear that if you were just reading the code as someone who's not familiar with the process, it almost looks like it skips over the short-term stuff, so the highlighted portion says that those short-term is still in effect, or it takes place while you're awaiting the hearing and the results of the hearing. There's a little bit of leeway, you have that 5 days, and then the hearing can occur within the 5 days, it might be on the 5th day, like, there's a little bit of leeway, but you get all of the rights afforded to you on a short-term suspension while you're in the process of possibly getting the long-term suspension. And then the last thing is page 23, it just updates the language to make it very clear that students with disabilities are entitled to an additional layer of due process in which we have to examine whether the incident is related to the student's disability. Which doesn't mean that they can't have a consequence for it. It just, if that's the case, sometimes it needs to be a modified behavior plan or other things like that through CSE. But they do have rights when it comes to issues that may result from their disability.
So just in summary, some minor changes. The only new section is that part on energy drinks. Mostly, we're just tightening language, clarifying language, so it is more clear for families, but our focus was enhancing student wellness. Again, focusing on academic integrity, especially when it comes to the use of AI, making sure that the code is compliant with any new laws, and then strengthening school and family partnerships. Questions for us?
I have a few. So my first question is to the board. Do we have a representative that could sit in this committee so that we have a little better idea of the things that are going to happen in this before we get to this meeting?
We did.
Who was that? It's okay, but they don't have, we never do reports.
We discussed it at a board meeting.
How did I miss all this stuff? Energy drinks and AirPods and all that stuff. I mean, I know I sleep with them, but. So,
Well, I mean, and also this is your chance to
Yeah.
address those things.
I know, I'm just, as the process goes on, an update every once in a while of, hey, we're talking about this, just lets us know what's going on, kind of like we do with policy.
When does this committee meet?
We met in June.
In June? Yeah.
And there were different stakeholders, so it wasn't just a board representative, there were parents, there were students. I was really excited to see the student body there. Who else?
when you met in June, did we have a meeting between?
We had a meeting phone, just one.
Okay, so like, it's not.
The timing is
The timing is,
admittedly.
and it was probably busy.
Yes, it was.
Like the energy drinks, is there a definition for energy drinks in here? Like, is a Starbucks, is that an energy drink?
No. You're talking about the rock stars and things that have like the taurine, the
Right.
things that are
So
like.
something that comes out of a can, but
I mean, a lot, you can get Starbucks if you can too, but
I just think
the ones that have,
Certain stimulants,
Yeah.
I think is where we're.
the crazy amount of caffeine, the stimulants, the additional, and that came directly from parents. They especially, it was never thought that they were being provided by school, but that students were sharing them, giving them out to one another. And there's a lot of parents who do not allow their children to have them based on health issues and known and unknown heart conditions.
So do those specifics need to be put in that policy? So that we don't end up.
I'm just saying, you can look at a double latte.
Yeah,
But I don't think anyone calls that an energy drink.
No, but it would juice you up to say,
True, I mean, you can't.
That seems pretty
override
subjective.
But cans of coffee don't have a warning on them that says, do not consume more than one of these in a day. At least I hope not.
So, yeah, there's probably, probably if you were to ask Heidi or to ask our doctor, school doctor, there's probably an actual definition, whether it's milligrams of caffeine or depends,
Right.
are you counting how many they have too? You can do just so much. There are some things that are very obvious.
right.
You can smell a monster from another room, so.
so, the other question would be AirPods. So AirPods are not allowed?
They're not in the,
Wait, they were in there?
they're in there, but they're actually
They
not.
they were banned. We're allowing AirPods.
We're allowing
AirPods.
AirPods.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's actually not in the.
Electronic.
It's not in legislation,
But it would connect to.
but it would connect to their computer, yeah, so we provide students with devices that connect to their laptops.
I have no issue with that. I just wanted clarification on it. And
And
then,
then it seemed like the teachers,
I-
missing the use of the AirPods for
Correct.
when they were taking like online
Yeah.
assessments.
gotcha.
I suspect though that'll come up again when we talk about AI policy. Don't you think? Or not necessarily? Yeah, you think so? I mean, I'm just,
I don't see how
Thinking
they
out
can
loud.
use AI.
no,
Yeah, right.
yet, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, it
So, and then the last is the due process, which is this, where does this come from? Is
That's
this coming from the
wonderful.
state?
That's always been in
It's
there.
always been
It's always
there,
been
the
there.
word stuff that wasn't clear.
Students have the right to due process. We just, I know language, so it's more clear. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So-
not new.
So anytime we're gonna do.
How come we didn't have this when I was in school?
You did.
Oh my gosh. We, I don't know if we had due process.
You did, due process just means you have the right to present your side, that's all it is. You have the right to present your side,
What's that?
that's all it is, due process is you have the right to present your side. If your parent could bring an advocate if they wanted to, but if there's a process.
But there's an actual process. The student's in the class and the teacher says, go to the principal's office, the student.
That's it, that they go, that's it. But if you're gonna have them removed it's called the SAVE Act, it's been around for a long time, it's not a ton, I don't know if that's high school, but. If you caused so many problems in my class today that I can't have you there tomorrow just for my class, not a suspension.
Yep.
I can have you removed just from my class for a day or up to 2 days,
Yep, we do that.
but I cannot do it without having a conversation.
But I hear all these stories about students who are disrupting classes and they cannot remove the student from the class. They end up removing all the other students from the class.
Well, that's a different issue. So if I could not remove you and it was a safety concern, I do need to remove everyone else first. Because I can't put my hands on.
It's all situational.
Probably.
It's very situational.
is there a way in the future we can do this sooner so we could get some updates to the board before, and so we have a little like time to chat about some of this stuff? Sure.
Just regarding the energy drink, I don't know if this would be helpful even to put like EG, Monster, Rockstar or similar products, just so it's kind of clear the intent of yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean a coffee. It means I don't know if that would be a little more helpful.
Yeah, I think clearly defining what constitutes an energy drink will help build the case too. Yeah.
I have a couple. Everybody. Page 4. Roman numeral 4, C. Just wondering out loud if, that should include behavioral violations specifically under that list. Doesn't really spell out behavioral violations.
Yeah, what page are you looking at?
Well, I don't think the page is matched up to the original one we got, so
It's
I'm
just
looking at Roman numeral 4.
Section 4.
Yeah, section 4, essential partners C,
Mhm.
and then, number 9 doesn't list behavioral violations. It says report incidents of harassment, bullying, cyberbullying, yada, yada, but I just feel like maybe the wording behavioral violations should be in there. Because you don't just report harassment or bullying, there's other things too. You see how it's worded?
It's on 6. Hey, you see it?
Yeah, I see it now.
On top of 6.
Yeah, top of page 6, number 9. It lists all kinds of things that need to be reported as incidents, but not behavioral violations. To me, that's pretty straightforward.
Could you give like an example of a behavior violation that would fall into one of those categories?
But that's what I'm saying. There's some that don't fall into those
Right,
categories.
so like, could you give me an example of one of those?
Physical violence, tripping, whatever in the hall. There's all kinds of things listed on our actual reporting page. I feel like it would, I said that last meeting, I think it would really help the board
Yeah,
if
I
you could
think probably
see.
there is add that in the definition too, for clarity purposes, because they do, I'm looking at your definition on page 2.
Yeah, it just doesn't match.
But they're missing a piece. So we're
Bullying
missing-
does say physical, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Not necessarily, could be verbal.
No, I mean in the definition.
Yeah, in the definition.
Yeah, but I just feel like it needs to be consistent. I don't know. It's just a suggestion. And then page 9, Roman numeral 6A. I just thought vandalizing property might be a consideration to be added under those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at the bottom. It lists lots of different things, but it doesn't talk about vandalizing property. I'm just, in my mind, when I read this, I was going back to that whole TikTok challenge when kids are walking down the hall with parts of brand new sinks that were just installed because it was a TikTok challenge. Like vandalizing property, we talk about laptops, all kinds of things that get vandalized.
So you mean destruction of property should be included.
Yeah, destruction, vandalizing, either way. They're the same meaning, right? And just a question on page 20. Whether or not Roman numeral 10 matches our board policy, the way that's worded there. I'm sure you probably compared it when you went through all of this. So page 20, Roman numeral 10 at the bottom, it says student searches and questioning of students. We did extensive policy, lots of conversation about proper searches and stuff. I don't know that it matches. Maybe it does. I did not pull up the policy, I'll be honest, I ran out of time.
Okay, I do believe that's one we updated a year ago, but I can.
Yeah,
Just double check it, yeah, it probably.
this one used the one for fleet protect.
In the prohibited student conduct, intentionally damaging or destroying school property is included under section C, so I don't think there's any reason to include it in A.
Okay.
Oh, oh, I have.
I will say in June, I really appreciated too that it was broken up because it's a lot to cover. The only, I guess the only improvement I would see as an improvement is giving us the opportunity to come back again, maybe and kind of like do a little bit of follow-up, because like none of us got to see the revisions either. So that may be helpful too, just to button things up.
Can teachers have energy drinks?
Yeah.
Do they have to pour them in a Stanley? They just,
Not right now.
not now.
Use a koozie.
I was just curious. Do your teachers drink energy drink?
Yeah, I think so.
I do, so,
Mhm.
not gonna lie,
Yeah.
yeah,
Alani's?
I'm a monster girl, so, and I can smell from the other room
Yeah.
too.
We had an SRO who was, I could tell when he was.
Yeah.
Great, so I made it.
Does anyone else wish to be heard? Not, that closes this public hearing, and beginning tomorrow for 30 days, there'll be a link on the website, and you can provide public comment back to it. Okay, now the public hearing regarding the district-wide school safety plan is now called to order. The public may address comments about the topic after the presentation, and Brett Titus will present the updates.
Thank you, Jeff. Good evening, and thank you for attending tonight's public hearing. The purpose of this presentation is to provide an overview of the district-wide safety plan for the 26-27 school year. Rather than reviewing every detail in the document, I'll highlight the major components, recent updates, and the process required by New York State. My goal tonight is to explain how we prepare, coordinate, and continuously strengthen our readiness across the district. To start, I'll briefly explain why the district safety plan exists and the role it serves. From there, I'll walk through the major elements that support emergency preparedness, discuss the partnerships that help maintain a secure environment, and review annual drills and staff development requirements. And then highlight this year's updates, including day shift law. I'll finish with the annual timeline and a few key points for the board and community. At its core, this framework serves two purposes. First, it ensures that we meet New York State requirements for preparedness and emergency management. Second, it establishes a common approach across the district so that staff, administrators, and first responders are working from the same expectation when an incident occurs. The document is reviewed annually, so it remains current with changing regulations, evolving risks, and district needs. The framework is organized around four major areas. The first is prevention, identifying concerns early and reducing risk wherever possible. The second is preparedness, which includes drills, staff development, and planning activities. Third is coordinated action during an event, ensuring communication and decision-making remain clear. Finally, recovery focuses on returning operations, instruction, and support services back to normal as efficiently as possible. Readiness depends on much more than a written document. It requires collaboration among district leaders, staff, families, local law enforcement, fire departments, EMS providers, board members, and other emergency agencies. We also continue to maintain physical security measures such as visitor controls, communication systems, and trained personnel throughout our buildings. These partnerships allow us to respond effectively while also focusing on prevention. A significant portion of our work each year involves practice and preparation. The district completes all drills required by New York State, including evacuation, lockdown, sheltering, and emergency dismissal exercises. We also follow a trauma-informed approach, making sure activities are age appropriate and focused on learning rather than fear. After each exercise, we review what went well and identify opportunities for improvement. This year, there are no major structural changes to the overall framework. While the overall framework remains largely unchanged, one important area of focus this year is compliance with DASHA's law and continued cardiac emergency preparedness efforts. That work includes cardiac emergency response procedures, staff preparedness, AED awareness, and age-appropriate student instruction. Additional training for administrators and custodial personnel will continue throughout the summer and into the upcoming school year. The annual review process is established by state regulation. Each year, the district safety team reviews the document, updates it as needed, and makes it available for public comment. The draft is posted on the district website for a minimum of 30 days, providing an opportunity for community participation. Currently, it's listed on the website. If you go to Pioneer Central Schools, then safety, and it'll be located in Pioneer Safety and Security Overview, where you can not only see the district safety plan, but you can also put a comment. Following that comment period, the board may consider adoption, which must occur no later than September 1st under state requirements. Staff development activities and building level updates then continue as the school year begins. As you consider the document, there are 4 points I would encourage everyone to remember. First, preparedness is an ongoing process rather than a one-time activity. Second, prevention, planning, and recovery are equally important parts of our work. Third, strong partnerships with first responders and community stakeholders remain essential. And finally, we continue to adapt our practices to meet regulatory requirements while supporting a safe and positive learning environment for staff and students. Thank you for your attention this evening and for your continued support of our students, staff, and schools. At this time, we'd be happy to answer any questions regarding the district-wide safety plan or the annual review process.
The training expansion, I did see that students had an opportunity this year for CPR training. Is that something that we're gonna also incorporate into this, including students in the training?
So for DASHA's law, it wasn't clear at first what exactly we had to provide to the students for their training. What we found out is that there's 3 ways to provide that information. One is a video training. Another one is instructional training, or the third one is a handout. We've decided to go on a handout, and that's because you could have training at the beginning of the year. You may not get it again until the next semester. Emergency happens, you completely forget, you're not sure what to do. So we were thinking about getting a handout. I have the handouts. We just got placed in all classrooms. Ask the teachers to go over the handouts with the students, know where to find them and what to do in case of an emergency.
I assume that's age appropriate too, right? So it would just be probably high school level?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we may have it at the elementary level, but that would be something that we have to work.
Okay, thank you.
And as far as substitute teachers go, should a teacher have a sub that day during an emergency, are they made aware of procedures during that onboarding process, or is there an onboarding process?
Yeah, so for all new staff being onboarded, per Dacia's law and what we've enacted, Matt and I, earlier in the school year, is when anyone is hired, it's a requirement now, 30 days after they're hired, to watch the required training on what exactly to do. And then I think it's important too that we also remind them where the handouts are and items regarding that.
Does anyone else have any comment or questions?
It looks like Brandon's raising.
Yes, Brandon.
Yeah, Brent, we talked about in the drill program, any lessons about continuous improvement, any lessons learned from this year that we can expand upon next year?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So we're always looking to expand. This is why we have those quarterly district safety meetings. And this includes our SROs, board members, teachers, nurses, facilities, you name it. We're basically, because it's a team effort to get all sides of an emergency or how we can improve on that. So there's been a few items that have popped up through this past year that we have worked together on mitigating and figuring out how to best do it. For example, it would be in the middle of winter when a fire drill goes off. What do we do when there's some students who are not prepared for going out in 0-degree temperatures? Kind of what can we do there? How can we work with the fire department? And do they have to go outside? Can they stay in the halls? Things like that. So we're always working together and seeing what we can improve. We'll go over drills that we had, any issues, and then go from there.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Has there been any consideration of a wider spread offering of more advanced like CPR courses for staffing? I mean, not necessarily everybody, but a wider offering so there are more people in our buildings with a little bit higher qualifications other than a couple of nurses and administrators in the building.
Yeah, so that's a good question. So I think we would have to gauge who would like to get the CPR AED training and then see what they want to take. So I guess there's several different iterations of the training and it's going from basic to more complex, but I would be open to that as well as offering more CPR AED training. That's kind of how we got it jump started with the administrators and the maintenance staff. Because we're always, at least one of us are located in each of the buildings, so someone's there in case of.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking a very basic CPR that's taught to just individuals out in the street. It's just chest compression, chest compressions. And that type of action is going to save a life while the trained staff is making it to whoever's having this cardiac event.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I think that's something that we could definitely look into, gauge out how we can do it, who's interested and go from there. I know we offer some things currently regarding that, so. We'll definitely get with that.
There was a CPR class too that was offered to students, right?
Still is, yeah.
Yes, still is.
Yeah.
And then I remember when we did one of the walkthroughs, there's also all of the SRO officers are AED trained, correct? And they also carry, or they know how to administer Narcan. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And they've trained us, yeah.
Yeah.
They're trained on AED, CPR, stop the bleed, and they can deploy EpiPens too.
And a lot of them too are actually trainers themselves. Like John Dowdy's a trainer. I know a lot of our PE teachers here in the high school and other schools are actually trainers and certified trainers, so.
So maybe we could coordinate some more training if people are interested.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, but it would be our phys ed staff, our SROs, our nurses, our administrative team and our maintenance staff um, who will be trained initially, but then potentially additional staff members on a voluntary basis after that.
Yes, correct. Yep, so that way we always have coverage at all the buildings. But we could definitely look into more push. I know there's some options for staff, but we could definitely push more availability for staff to get trained.
And nothing more, this closes our public hearing. And the safety plan, and beginning tomorrow for 30 days, there will be a link on the website by public comment.
We're gonna take a moment to reset. Welcome, ladies, and congratulations. We're gonna take 120 seconds to reset. We'll begin our formal meeting in just 2 minutes. Roll call.
Sean Hannon.
Here.
Jim Fleischman.
Here.
Mark West. Brandon Price.
Here.
Tricia Hoffman.
Here.
Kate Utah. Here. Amanda McCarroll. Corey Higgins.
Here.
Shannon King.
Here.
Would everyone please stand for the flash? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of business is our oaths by our new school board members.
I, Catherine Utah Shannon King, do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge as board member the duties. The duty, I think yours is different. Okay, they're a lot different. The duties as a board member of the Pioneer Board of Education according to the best of my ability.
Great job.
And one of our 2 student board members, Jake Owens.
I, Jacob Owens, do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties as student board member for the Pioneer Board of Education according to the best of my ability.
Before we get to our presentations, which we know is definitively the most exciting portion of the evening, we have what's called reorganizational meetings. Did they warn you all about that? So we have about 10 to 15 minutes of business that we're gonna run through preparing the district for the new school year. So we beg for your patience before we begin. Item number 1 is nominations for school board president.
I nominate Sean Hannon.
I accept. Are there any other nominations?
I've said in the past, and I'll say it again, that I believe that the school board president position should rotate probably every year to 2 years. And what I saw in the past from this board, having one president for too long can have a negative impact on the board. So I think everybody in this room is qualified, and I would like to see a different person in that position.
I completely share the sentiment that we can't let school board leadership get stale. That said, I'm still more than willing to serve if elected. Are there any other motions? Nominations, rather? Consideration of a motion to appoint Sean Hannon as president of the Board of Education. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second? All in favor? 8 opposed? 7 and opposed 1. Nominations for vice president of the board. I nominate Jen Fleischman. Are there others?
So how are we going to groom somebody to become president if we don't keep these positions moving in some capacity?
I don't think there's any desire to guard the gate to leadership of this board.
Okay,
At least that's not how I operate. In fact, I think my track record as board president has been to share as much leadership to make this board as transparent as possible. And I think I've done that every step of the way. This tenure that is concerning to you is 2 years. 3. It's 2 years.
3.
This would be the 3rd year.
you will.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah, it's been 2 years. That's not 3, that,
Correct.
correct. This would be the 3rd year. I don't think that that's, it's been my experience that it's flown by, so I share your concern about scaling, being stale, but I don't think that we are. I think our board's been heading in a good direction.
I've seen where.
That said, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I will-
3 goes to 4, 4 goes to 5.
I will. And what if it does?
I'm just saying.
For sure,
If it rolled
for sure.
through, get some fresh blood in there, it would make a better board. I've seen it.
If I'm not the best person to lead this board, I trust the 8 other people on it to vote me off. And I know, so I hear you saying that another person would make a better board. If someone here will make a better board, then vote me off and let's do it.
I don't think it's a competition. I'm
I
not
agree.
saying,
I want Pioneer to have the best school board.
I'm not saying that a different board member is a better or a worse. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it keeps it fresh. It keeps it rotated. That's what I'm saying. And I see the direction it's heading in. I don't think it's exactly a healthy direction. And it needs to be pointed out and we can take it from there. It's fine. I'm not asking to be nominated, and if you nominated me, I would decline it. Okay, but we have very qualified people in this room. Amanda's not in here right now. She's qualified, obviously, Sean. Everybody in this room. There's nobody in this room that can't sit in these positions, is what I'm saying.
I completely agree.
So.
That's why we vote on it.
Is there someone else we should consider for vice president?
Does anybody have any interest? I would like somebody to have some interest in it. I'm because of the uniqueness of this conversation, I definitely not put my name in the hat. But I'm asking, please, somebody step up. Let's keep this thing going.
Brandon is smiling. I don't know what that means.
Brandon would make a great vice president.
My facial expressions are a nod of support for our current president, and I really have appreciated the direction the board has gone the past 2 years, 3 years, and so I don't have any other recommendations.
Hearing no other names, agenda item 3.4, appointment of a vice president of the board, consideration of a motion to appoint Jim Fleischman as vice president of the Board of Education. Is there a motion?
Okay.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor? 7, opposed? 1. Administration of oath.
I abstained,
By the way, I'm sorry.
yeah.
6-1-1. Administration of oath. For the superintendent, school board president.
I'll let those two go and then I'll do it after, so it's not too many people.
I, Sean Hannon, do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York. That I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office as president of the Board of Education according to the best of my ability.
I, Jim Fleischman, do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York.
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office of Vice President of the Board of Education, according to the best of my ability.
I, Nicholas Savaroli, do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office as superintendent according to the best of my ability.
More reorganization. Agenda item 4.1, appointment of district officers, consideration of a motion to appoint the following district officers for the 2026-2027 school year A to F. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second. All in favor? 8-0.
Oh,
Agenda item 4.2, to administer the oath of faithful performance to district officers, including.
I, Jennifer Higgins, do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office of district clerk according to the best of my ability.
Agenda item 5.1, annual appointments. Consideration of a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the following annual appointments for the 2026-2027 school year, A to Y. Does anyone feel the need to pull anything out? Is there a motion? Jim, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? 8-0. Agenda item 5.2, designation of Cattaraugus Allegheny School Board Association delegate and alternate. The name for last year's delegates and alternates is noted in italics. Amanda, who is not here, has noted that she would like to remain as our delegate if no one else desires. Hey, Amanda, and would anyone like to serve as the alternate?
I would.
Okay. Consideration of a motion to designate Amanda McCarroll as delegate and Corey Higgins as alternate to the Cattaraugus Allegheny School Board Association for the 2026-2027 school year. I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? 8-0. Designation of NISBA business meeting delegate and alternate. Last year it was Pat Hoffman. I served as the alternate. Do you have interest in doing that again? You do not have to. It's an 8-hour Zoom
willing,
for anyone
sir.
who doesn't know. You're willing?
I am willing.
Is anyone else?
Someone else just interested in gaining that experience.
I will serve as the alternate in full confidence that she will.
Not develop a cough that evening.
Consideration of a motion to designate Pat Hoffman as NISBA business meeting delegate and Sean Hannon as alternate for the 2026-2027 school year. Their motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? 8-0. Another consent agenda, approval of annual designations. This is a consideration of a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the following 2026-2027 designations, A to J. Does anyone feel the need to remove any of those? Is there a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Shannon. And a second. Corey, all in favor? 8-0. Annual authorizations. Consideration of a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the following annual authorizations for the 2026-2027 school year, A to I. Does anyone feel the need to remove anything? Is there a motion? Jim, is there a second? All in favor? 8.1, required annual approvals and reviews. Consideration of a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the following annual items for the 2026-2027 school year A to L. Is there a motion?
I'll move it.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? 8-0. Agenda item 8.2, a consideration of a motion to approve the entire Board of Education as the audit committee for Pioneer Central Schools. Is there a motion? Thank you, Corey. I'll second. All in favor?
Discussion.
Oh, discussion, yeah, please.
So I brought up before turning this into an advisory committee. I do think it should be at least considered. I think when we have advisory committees and we have 3 or 4 board members on those committees, I feel like we get a little more input into something like audit and finance. And I think that we're not quite doing the job we should be for our taxpayers when it comes to this. So I will bring up the suggestion again that we instead turn this into an advisory committee that would meet and then bring what their findings to the board to tell us what they found.
Certainly something to consider. So you're saying before the board is presented the audit information.
So we make right now, this makes the audit committee, we do it all as a collective whole. But when we do policy committee, we meet with a certain number of board members and we break things down. I feel like we get a better presentation to the board with the breakdown from the individual members that bring it to the board. And I think that it would give us a little better look on how our finances work. And I know that we get very good explanations on how our finances work, but still, a lot of it still goes over my head. And in a smaller room, it's easier to break it down.
Perfect. I think we can do that without, we can do that and we can do this. And we don't need any board action for 3 or 4 people to receive the audit report before the rest of us and create us a review of it, right?
I would like to think that it would work just like a policy committee would, where we would sit down with Brent, with Nick, and they'd say, hey, this is what's going on. This is why we feel like we need to do a tax levy raise, whatever the case is. And then maybe we could ask a few more questions, get in a little deeper on it and make sure that we're doing our due diligence.
It's agreed, but it's like, this is specifically for the audit though, not for the budget. But you would like it for both,
Audit, finance.
the whole, like a finance committee that
Audit,
looks at
finance
audits
committee.
and budgets.
So, and I honestly don't know what it would look like because I've never seen it, but.
I think one of the things it would do though is to sort of unfold those acronyms and stuff that are sometimes used in the presentation where we're all going, what are they talking about? You know, beforehand, so that the community and the board will have a better layman's term of what they're talking about. Just a thought.
We'll have to save that for a work session and figure out
Yeah.
the best way to form a committee and if we need any actual action to do it. Any further discussion? All in favor? 8-0. Transportation, safety and facilities last year was Wendy, Jim, Corey, and Kate. Any takers? Jim,
I
Corey,
would be on there for Wendy's one.
Kate, Shannon. Consideration of a motion to approve the following board members to serve as the Transportation Facilities Safety Advisory Committee: Jim Fleischman, Corey Higgins, Kate Utag, and Shannon King. Is there a motion?
Move it.
Any second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? 8-0. Agenda item 8.4, policy. Last year it was Mark, Brandon, Pat, and Kate. Any takers?
Yeah, I'd like to be.
Run it back. You comfortable with that, Brandon? Consideration of a motion to approve the following board members to serve on the Policy Advisory Committee: Mark Kless, Brandon Price, Patricia Hoffman, Kate Utek. I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Shannon, all in favor? 8-0. Agenda item 8.5, High School Scholarship Committee. Last year was Amanda McCarroll. She has a senior this year, which is exciting for her. So she's removed herself from consideration. So we'll need a new board member for that position.
I'd love to do that.
You got it. Consideration of a motion to approve the following board member to serve on the High School Scholarship Committee: Pat Hoffman. Is there a motion? Mark, is there a second? Corey, all in favor? 8-0. Health and Wellness Advisory Committee. Consideration of a motion to approve the following board members to serve on the Health and Wellness Advisory Committee. Amanda said she would be willing to serve on this committee if called upon. Anyone else? Corey? Oh, yeah, Shannon, you want to do it?
Unless you'd
like
it. I already wrote your name.
Consideration of a motion to approve the following board members to serve on the Health and Wellness Advisory Committee: Amanda McCarroll and Shannon King. Is there a motion? Shannon, is there a second? All in favor? 8-0. Teacher Mentor Advisory Committee. Last year was Pat.
I'll continue.
You, again?
Yeah, Wendy was on there too, but I don't know if we need the
It's
second one.
historically only had one person on
Okay.
it. I think that it's safe to say one person would suffice if no one else is jumping. Consideration of a motion to approve the following board members to serve on the Teacher Mentor Advisory Board: Pat Hoffman. Is there a second? Excuse me, is there a motion? Thank you, Corey. Is there a second? Thank you, Mark. All in favor? Agenda item 8.8. Item discussed in work session or recent meetings. Consideration of a motion to set the 2026-2027 tuition rate for non-resident students at $1,000 per non-resident student. We'll begin with a motion. And a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Thought it was simply worth noting that Franklinville went after we got our comps.
They reduced theirs.
Franklinville.
They
Jacked it up.
Oh, they jacked, I
It's
thought,
like
yeah, but I
$5.
thought they take it, I thought they took it back though.
They grandfathered,
Year.
they grandfathered current students, but all
Okay.
new students is still.
It's still, okay.
Is there some backstory there?
They're trying to make it fair. They're trying to portray to their taxpayers that they are not letting non-taxpayers receive services provided for by Franklinville taxpayers. I was looking at it.
This is, for people that don't know out there, this is new for Pioneer. We've never allowed tuition to non-resident students, so this coming year, if you give us $1,000, we'll let you in.
Any other discussion? All in favor? 8-0. Oh, no, Kate and Jenny, yes. Agenda item 9.1. Consideration of a motion to accept the agenda. Motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? 0. We have officially been reorganized.
Mhm.
Agenda item 10.1. Girls flag football state champions in our midst.
Mr. Edwards, I don't know if you want to take the podium?
So thanks for having us. We have a majority of our members here. And I think it's important to point out a couple of the accomplishments of the ladies this year. They're the first team in the history of New York State to ever win 2 flag football state championships. They won back to back. In doing so, they outscored people 777 to 67, which is an average score of 41 to 3, including in the state semifinals and finals, a combined score of 77 to 6 overall. They finished New York State ranked #1 overall, regardless of school size. Number 8 in the nation by Max Preps, which is a national ranking. That's the #1 ranking organization. We had the Western New York Defensive Player of the Year, the Western New York Player of the Year, the Max Preps State Player of the Year. We had a girl that was an honorable mention All-American this year. So as much as everyone in today's world wants to say that like everything's the same, every accomplishment's the same, it is definitely not. These girls set the bar. They are the premium program in the state of New York for flag football. And it just so happens they come from our town. So congratulations to them.
Listen, this is fantastic. What you girls have done is truly amazing. And it's a blessing for us to be able to have you in here today and show our support to you. And I want you to know that. Not only are you state champions, but you're setting records across the state. Am I correct? When I heard about this, if you girls were coming, I was excited because I expected to see you last year. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. Where's the little Edwards girl? Where are you? Stand up.
Little.
Stand up for her. She's not little. And young. Amazing work this year and the leadership that you presented for this team, right? And your accomplishments and your awards and being recognized for that and, you know, keep bringing it. That's super amazing. I love it. I love it, every little bit about it. And, you know, reflecting on last year, because I think last year you were co-MVP with Jaden Lederman. And so I started looking into this a little bit also with Jaden. Where's Jaden?
She's at work.
Oh, she's at work. Are you kidding me? Jaden, out there in the world of wild world of the web here. Listen, I'm gonna recognize you right now because I read something today that was spectacular under the leadership of Coach Edwards. Lederman became the first Pioneer Central School District athlete to be named statewide player of the year. Is that correct?
Was Ellie.
That wasn't last year?
Last
And
year,
then Ellie got it this year.
Ellie and Jaden were co-MVPs last year. And
Okay.
this year, Ellie is the Max Preps.
Well,
State Player of the Year.
this write-up in this article is wrong. But I will tell you, just those 2 feats. Back to back, Pioneer women's athletes taking these titles is spectacular. And I encourage you to step up your game. Let's take everything. All right, keep it going. And thank you, Chris, for all you do. And again, you girls really should be held in high regards. And I hope that that just transitions down to the lower grades and you just keep it going. That's all I have to say about that.
I'm sure that Ellie and Jaden would both agree that it's a team sport. And because they're humble and awesome. The talent just in all the yellow shirts out there is incredible. And we see all of it. And we're very, very proud of you. And I don't know what it's going to take, but I already had this conversation with Mr. Langworthy because we're from a town where state champs have their championships recognized on a sign when you're driving into town. And I don't know what it's going to take, but that Pioneer sign right by County Line Road needs a green sign under it that says state champs on it. But we need to make sure we leave room for the future years that you ladies are going to keep doing that. But yeah, you're a real point of pride, and not just because of how you played, but because of who you are. So congratulations, and thank you for taking the time to come in this evening.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
second presentation is our biannual special education plan.
Oh, after that.
And you're pretty incredible too.
Not an action. Okay, thank you for having me. Wanted to, give a quick update. So first review is the overview of the team, why we haven't focused in again on some graduation and dropout data. We got our, IDEA determination of concepts of late, and then talk about up to school goals for a different plan coordinator. So why do we have a plan? It is mandatory for New York State and the particular regulations, and there is a board policy 7610. So really when we look into it, this is just updating what is required. Our pioneer plan mimics what New York State is asking us for. So you have a very large copy of it. If you really want to look at it, it will be posted on our website. I just wanted to highlight some of the elements and then why it would be different. Okay, thank you. So the nature and scope of just our programs and services, as you all know, the greatest thing about this place is we just adapt to student need. So you'll see some differences like integrated co-teaching, our SKIS classroom for UPK, and additional 611 autism programs, just things that we are taking back. So Pioneer people running Pioneer programs for students. So you'll see a lot more of our own programs versus BOCES or out of district. And then it will continue to get a really in-depth of all the services from least restrictive, so kids maybe just getting a little bit of speech or related services only, to integrated within gen ed, and then going to our smaller classes. And then we do have some in out of district placements, 2 new ones. We do have a student who is in a residential program through Randolph. It's been a few years. And then we have some students again at St. Mary's, which is great. And like always, when you have regulations and we have board policies, they like to include what are our responsibilities. So what is the district and the board responsible for? The big one is the allocation of the space and the funding. If you look at it and what the high school has built for our students with autism and life skills, that was a very big plan, kind of 3 years coming. And we have such an incredible space where these students get to thrive up until 22. So looking ahead, and we do a good job with that. There's the updated budget proposal from Brent. And then even describing our child fund. So not just a parent saying, hey, I'm concerned about my kid, but we have a responsibility when the kids walk through the doors of like, how do we notice things and how do we help them? So new this year, our preschool chair has been going to the Delavan Head Start staff meetings and really just talking about things that parents can do hands-on. We put posters and information in doctors' offices around the community and strengthening our MTSS system. I know that's a big district goal, but fast bridge screeners are going to be in 10th grade next year. So it just started with 9th, so we're layering that on. We have somebody who's going to be board approved tonight. That's going to be a big part of that system. So that all kind of goes into our child find. The last difference with declassification support is we have a plan that a student can go on if they no longer require the services. And then we have students that really don't need a plan, but they're entitled to test accommodations. So just with technology, we're getting better about signaling that to all staff, putting icons in PowerSchool, making sure subs have the information. So those are the really big differences. All of the bullets and headings are the same because that's something that we need to do. Then the last part is the methods for evaluating our programming. That will kind of take me into the next section. If anyone had anything on the overview of the plan specifically. And again, if people kind of have questions after the fact, you can reach out.
Just a comment. I don't know if the rest of the board is aware that Pioneer, I would wager a guess, probably has a higher percentage of individuals with special needs that remain in their home school than most other districts. Is that a fair statement? And that's a big deal. You know, we don't put them on a bus for an hour and go places where a lot of districts do. And that's huge. That's especially the parents, you know, and the kids themselves. They're not, you know.
Absolutely. I mean, there are a lot of resources in Young County, but do we want to put a student on the bus for 60 minutes in good weather?
And sometimes more, you know.
So one of the big methods of evaluating our programming is the determination that the state puts forth. You've heard me talk about the indicators, our targeted skills groups. So, yep, sorry, I won't.
Overall, we did just get our data from 24-25. We did drop into the needs assistance in the yellow. And I know that when I spoke a year ago about us being in the green, we were right on that edge. I wanted to focus specifically on the graduation dropout rate because we were put on a targeted skill group 2 years ago. And we passed, so to speak, in that we created a plan. And what do we want to do? We want to start early. So the plan centered around middle school facilities. It has not been that long of a time. We have not been able to see the results in high school yet. What is happening in the short term is we're still falling short. So if you look about out of 20 students with disabilities, our graduation rate dropped to 60% and they wanted around 71 or 2. And then our dropout rate jumped up to 25%, which they wanted around 19. If we look at the different counts, that's all there. There is a lot of things that go into it. Like I said, you've heard me speak of that before, but just looking at where we are right now and looking at taking in the past when Pat was working here, we had a larger role of a transition coordinator and it did go down to a stipended position for a few hours a week to somebody. So moving forward and just being concerned that we're at 17 students with disabilities graduating out of 28. It's not a great number. I want to been talking to Matt and Carrie Hirsch and Nick and Brent about a full-time transition coordinator position. Not having anything to do with increasing funds, we're using current funds that we have. And really, what would be the goals of this? To improve the graduation outcomes, it kind of, you talk to Molly Duggan, she talks about like the real improvements of her being in the middle school and going to the high school. And she's like, when you get to the high school, if you think about kids with disabilities, they have some differences. And think about having someone to be able to have like a beacon on them and like kind of really scrutinize what these kids need because they all need different things. Some kids, you have an IP, you're gonna need nothing. That's different. It's going to be fine. You're gonna go through and it's not gonna be a big deal. But if a student becomes at risk, I don't know that we're catching it early enough. And if we have somebody dedicated in that role to be working with those 28 kids, think of how much more that they can do on a regular basis. And even what we're finding is those organizational and soft skills are lacking a little bit. I mean, these are kids that did go through the pandemic. So even what work could this person do working with some kids on those organizational skills and what they're going to need for life? You may not necessarily learn sitting in an algebra classroom, so to speak. And then increasing the student engagement could help. And how do we expand the career and work-based learning opportunities? Because a lot of the career-based opportunities and work experiences we have now are focused on the students who have that life skills, the NYSA, they're on a different pathway. But what do we have for students that may need a little bit more support, but they don't need a whole adapted job? Like we're missing kind of that little bit. And could we work on having speakers that are going to be more tailored to students with different kinds of needs? If you look at summer work, Nick Titus's program is phenomenal. And we try so hard to get kids in it, but there's a lot of things that go into it. And I every year say, why don't we have more? And then what other opportunities can we do through Pioneer, through buildings and grounds? Or I saw the little kids coming from swim today, walking through the high school, like what else could be done with summer when we have staff here and on site? So that would be another goal and how the person would reach that with the position and then strengthen the transition planning. So we will go around to our indicators 13 again, where you have to look at those coordinated set of transition activities. And just we pulled some IEPs and just did a quick data assessment of how they looked 4 or 5 years ago and how they look now. And it's like, we're not pointing at fingers, but it's just very brief. It's very surface level. And if we kind of looked at that right now, I'm not confident that it would maybe go so well. And how do we then take this person to work with our new staff? Because it's really so different than when you become a special educator, when you get board approved and you go into the classroom. This is a part that you don't really learn in college. You're working on how do I get the kid to pass the test? How do I give them the test accommodation? But this is a really big part that takes time. And one of the thoughts on this is likely going to be a position where your hours, think of our family support center, a couple days a week are going to be 11 to 7. Because so much of this is gonna have to be bringing parents in and working in jobs, that you're not gonna be able to do it in the required time frame. So truly with this proposal, we are looking outside of the box, we're trying to help our students and we hope that it can be taken into consideration. Sorry, I tried to be nice.
I think the key word of what Sherry just said is community-based learning experiences. We cannot simulate those in these walls. I was gonna say 4 walls, but there's way more than that. You can just do a better job out there, and that requires people with expertise to go out with them and job coach and such. You're
I
not,
think it's a great proposal too. I think it has to be student-centered, and the only way to achieve that is through this proposal. Seriously, so great job.
As just a side note about, special ed, I did want to mention that like 3 meetings ago, we had a conversation about whether or not we needed extra meetings in order to slow you down. And I want the public, I want the world to know that we've resolved that.
Yes.
And, all is well in that particular department. And I'll also note that one of the kids who graduated this year from Pioneer did the work-based program at Hope Preschool when she was in 9th grade. And it was very cool to see someone even that long ago and that young get experience in a classroom with little kids and then walk across the stage 4 years later.
Yeah, thanks, Sherry, and I'll just, my annoyance, and we've had this conversation, just especially with our graduation rate too, because so we have 28 students in the pool, 17 graduated. We had 4 students though who moved on through with the life skills credential, but they don't technically count that as being graduated. So I mean, if you were to add that in, we'd be up to like 75% kids, but they don't reflect that in that graduation number, which
When
I have a little beef with the.
when they give us those statistics on those 28 students, I think I've asked this question before, but I'll ask it again. So they're considered seniors, correct?
They would be considered, seniors or students that would have to graduate within the specified time frame. Sherry?
They age out.
This is where, and I remember when Jennifer came and presented and it was cohort versus year.
Correct.
And there's a lot of, not miscommunication, it was in 2 different silos almost. So we get graded every year. They just look at the number, but students are able to stay up until they're 22 now.
So we had this conversation.
Yeah, so if you are a student who is graduating at 20, we're doing it now and then it'll be reported on next time this year. We have someone and they do the ages. We have someone who graduated at 20, so they're gonna count as a graduate for 2026.
Which is why the graduation rate and dropout rate don't always match, because you can not graduate, but you're not necessarily a dropout.
Correct.
right.
And when we looked historically, Jennifer was not incorrect, that 7 number, it's pretty consistent, but when we talk about the enrollment, that's what changes the percentage.
When we went to yellow, say yellow,
Yes,
so now we have to draw a plan.
there's
Is this what we have to do?
multiple components, and I do have that, and Nick and I talked about it. Once we kind of know what the plan is and what the state is gonna ask of us, we thought it would be important to have me kind of come back and talk about that, because it was not just graduation and dropout. Other key areas that we fell below in was the state test scores for ELA and math in grade 4 specifically. Grade 8 was fine, but specifically in grade 4, so that could be an area that they're gonna want to talk to us about, like how can we and then environment is another one, and then how many kids are getting their services within Gen Ed versus being pushed out. So we're right on the cusp of that least restrictive environment. So those are, and then we got some great scores on compliance. We're doing everything compliant and in the right time. 100% there. And some other areas, like I said, you can make those.
For the transition coordinator position, you said right now it exists, but it's a stipend position.
Because it ended, so we did not approve the stipend to continue, so it
Okay.
ended as of June 30th, 2026. So while we were talking about that, the stipend is not continued. So right now, we
You don't have.
don't have any.
But when you did have it, about how many hours a week were they here?
We allotted an extra, an extra
2
credit
periods.
period and then evening work, but then it's hard, it was more, admittedly, the person said it was more through like email and connections. Because with those very, and we're doing that at home, and as a family, so thinking of how Jerry Bowmeyer and Angela Mason have set days that we just know they're working an alternate schedule.
Be very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
With these kids, it's all about employability. You know, we talk about graduation rate a lot, but the kids that are non-diploma bearing, it's about employability. That's what it's about. So that they feel like they're contributing to society and becoming taxpayers, you know? I would urge though that, I mean, we don't have any more board meetings until what, mid-August. If we opt to establish this, typically there's all kinds of opportunity available over the summer to develop that position. I don't know how we can, I can't urge enough how important it is to do it before the kids' schedules are in place. Because their schedules are dictated by the work-based learning that goes on. You can't just do it after the fact. It's impossible. Plus, it's very disruptive to the kids' schedules if you do it like in September. Just
Time is of the essence.
time is of the essence, and they can develop the programs I've offered to hand over all my files.
I actually have a question. Where do we pull for this service? Is it through an application process or is there?
My hope is that you would post it internally and people who work within special education at the high school and have certain skill sets would apply, then it would require a backfill if that's how it goes on. But then these positions are all over now. They're just so popular. And especially in special education, because not waiting for the whole portrait of a graduate to roll out. So it's not to say somebody that if it went external wouldn't apply.
Right. And are you confident that we have the personnel to step up and take that position?
I'm confident that the backfilling in the process is what makes me a little apprehensive, only because I know how our timetables and our contracts work, because that position has to be posted internally, so the timing is what makes me nervous, not that it can.
Are there any other positions that will need to be besides if that one's established? Where we'd have to have like a little special meeting like we did once before?
So we don't need to technically establish the position, but what I would do is I would bring a recommendation to you in August for you to appoint somebody. Although we will need an MOA because this position doesn't work within the contractual time constraints. So we would have to have an agreement with the PFA to allow some flexible scheduling. You would see two things, basically an MOA to provide some flexibility with this position, and then a recommendation of a staff member to fill the position at your August meeting. I mean, we can post it tomorrow and get that ball rolling. And have
Another special position for the high school, the person that we were hoping to recommend today took a job closer to home. We're still looking for a speech pathologist, so I have 2 open positions and I'm still very hopeful that we'll have to you for August.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you are meeting, I believe, July 28th for your board retreat, so everybody would be here. I mean, it is possible to have
Oh, that's true.
a quick, I mean, assuming we have a candidate to recommend.
Right, because that person, you're gonna open up a different position, so we want, that would be wonderful if the timeline would work for July, because then you'd have still 6 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks.
Mhm.
There's a lot of work to be done.
Okay.
Ideally, if someone is hired within, they could have some flexibility to use summer hours to do that. Even before we,
I think Brandon's raising his hand to say something.
Oh.
thank you.
Yeah, Sherry, I'm just curious, has there been a shift in going from special education to exceptional education?
I have to work really hard on my verbiage of that, as you see it is a shift as it's coming through the universities. And I actually am on a task force committee with an Autism Regional Associates, and I was with a lot of directors, one from the assistant superintendent from West Seneca and the city of Buffalo. And they say I'm the assistant superintendent of exceptional education. So it's coming down. The question will be, we were laughing today that we're still a committee on special education and that word CSE. So although we're saying one thing, we're still writing a lot of other things, but the shift has been very favorable amongst parents and staff members. People have been very happy. They're excited to get rid of that term when people say SPED in a way of being abbreviated and how that could have a negative connotation.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks again. Reports, superintendent.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Sean. And yeah, I hope everybody's enjoying their summer. Goes by quick. Enjoy every moment of it. I want to begin by extending a warm welcome to Shannon and to Judge. Yeah, thanks for joining us here, joining the board and bringing your perspective to the board table. So we really appreciate it and look forward to your contributions this year.
Yeah.
What an evening on the 26th. So we had graduation and really just want to thank the staff that really contributed toward making really a special night. Just the grounds crew, I mean, it was like they were working for a week straight out front, just power washing and trimming trees and the custodial staff, certainly IT staff, even the video recording, I caught a little bit of that as well, and just an exceptional job. The counselors, everybody who kind of coordinated, our guest speakers. And Jeff Mason, it was his last one. Tyler Wendy will be picking up, and Bob Schooley, Andrea Smith, but just really want to just get it out there. So they, certainly it's kind of like our Super Bowl of the year. And our staff members certainly showed up and did their best to make that a very special evening for all of our students. I don't have much of a report given that it's early, but other than it is summer, but it is still quite busy around here, just with all the capital work going on and professional development. If you're around earlier today, I know Sean was in with the Hope crew, and I mean the front parking lot was like full. With a lot of the staff development going on. We have summer school going on here as well. We'll be wrapping up some hiring and working on the strategic planning. We're gearing up for some of the retreats. So it, despite being summer, it's still a pretty lively place around here as we get ready to welcome staff back. It'll be August 31st. Staff will be coming back, and soon thereafter, students. But we're well on their way already. So we're looking good and looking forward to the rest of the summer. And like I said earlier, it's going to go by quick, but we're going to make it a productive time too.
Anything for Nick? School business.
All right, thanks, Sean. So 2 things to touch on tonight. I'll begin with the district-wide safety initiatives. On June 23rd, we held our annual district safety meeting. During this meeting, admin, staff, and key stakeholders reviewed our strategic safety plan for the upcoming 26-27 school year. The discussion focused on identifying safety priorities, evaluating current procedures, and outlining the steps necessary to achieve our safety goals in the coming year. Safety remains one of our highest priorities, and this collaborative planning process helps ensure that we are proactive in creating maintaining a safe learning environment for students and staff. Looking ahead, on August 3rd and 4th, the district will be conducting AED, CPR, and first aid training for all administrators and maintenance staff. During these 2 days, there's going to be 4 separate 4-hour trainings, one in the morning and then one in the afternoon, both days. I would like to extend this also to the board members. If you're interested, please let me know, and I could send you out a calendar invite during one of those times. It's 8 to 12 in the morning and then 12 to 4 in the afternoon. These trainings will be led by our high school resource officer, John Dowd. We would like to extend our sincere thanks to Officer Dowd for dedicating his time and expertise to support this important staff development initiative. And then moving on from that, we have summer school transportation. This summer, the district will be providing transportation to both middle school and high school students attending our in-house summer school programs. While transportation has been available for middle school students in the past, we're extending that to high school students this year. As the program gets underway, we will carefully evaluate participation levels and overall effectiveness to determine the long-term value of continuing this service. I would also like to proudly point out that we are one of very few school districts in New York State, or at least Western New York, or maybe the only one in Western New York, that offers this in-house summer school program and transportation. And this offering reflects our commitment to removing barriers for students and ensuring they have access to educational opportunities and support they need during the summer months. In closing, our focus continues on maintaining a safe learning environment, investing in staff training, and expanding access to educational opportunities for our students. The work completed through our district-wide safety planning process, the upcoming AED, CPR first aid training sessions, and the expansion of summer school transportation services all demonstrate our commitment to supporting students, staff, and families as we prepare for the upcoming school year. Thank you.
Thank you. Academics. Well, like Nick said, summer work is up and running, began July 1st. Although today, or yesterday kicked off our first professional development week. Now, I presented several times about summer work. Typically, it's been spread throughout the entire summer on a wide array of topics. But this year, the PD committee recommended that we block off PD weeks where everyone is working on something similar. So in previous years, the big challenge is to offer something that's applicable to everyone. So this year we chose a couple different topics. Yesterday, we rolled out the Danielson Framework for Teaching. That's going to be our new observation rubric under our STEPS plan heading into next school year. We'll have mental health and instructional tech resources, curriculum-specific PD across content areas. And today we had student engagement strategies to increase active learning and classroom engagement. So we appreciate the enthusiasm demonstrated by our staff. We're going to serve over 100 staff members this week, and then there'll be one more PD week in August for any staff that were unavailable this week. Throughout the remainder of the summer, staff will continue their work on curriculum planning, instructional resource development, and alignment of curriculum. This work will help ensure that instructional materials and pacing are prepared for the start of the 26-27 school year and remain aligned with our district priorities and New York State learning standards. So really focusing on summer work, making it meaningful, and making sure that our staff are prepared for the upcoming school year.
Thank you. And student board member introduction. We've asked Jake to introduce himself.
So I'm Jake Owens. I'm a rising senior this next year. I'm the NHS treasurer, a member of student government, the vice president of FBLA, president of my class. I play 3 sports. I serve proudly on many committees, and I'm very active in my community. I'm very grateful for this opportunity to serve on the board as a student member.
Yeah. You got questions? Jake, what don't you do?
Not a lot.
That's awesome.
An exceptionally young man, no doubt about it. Anything else for Jake? The real grilling begins in September, so then that will become a hot seat. Agenda item 12.1, old business, revising the agreement between the City of Monterey. Consideration of a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the revised agreement between Pioneer Central School District and J. Marie Montagne to provide translation and interpretation services commencing July 1st, 2026 and ending June 30th, 2027 as posted. Is there a motion? Thank you, Jim. Is there a second? I'll make it. Is there any discussion? All in favor? It's it. Agenda item 13.1 is to approve new business items. Consideration of a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the following new business items A to K. Does anyone feel the need to remove anything from this consent agenda? Is there a motion? Second?
Second.
And all in favor? Agenda item 13.2, the approval of PAA agreement. Consideration of a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the funding and ratification of the labor agreement between the Board of Education and the Pioneer Auxiliary Association. The labor agreement is effective July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2030. The superintendent shall have the authority on behalf of the Board of Education to acknowledge the agreement accordingly. The agreement is posted. Is there a motion? Make it. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ken. Any discussion? All in favor? 8-0.
I think that deserves a lot of applause. The PA.
Agenda item 13.3. The 2026-2027 capital outlay project resolution. This resolution dated July 7th, 2026 of the Board of Education of the Yorkshire Pioneer Central School District, Cattaraugus County, New York, confirms the details of a capital outlay project involving modest upgrades and improvement at the district's Delavan Elementary building, and confirming the project as being a type 2 action under SEQRA. As posted. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor? 8-0. Agenda item 14 is committee updates. Is there a policy committee update this evening?
We did not meet. Anything?
I suppose the most significant policy update is the action coming in the next step, so I imagine it'll come out in discussion of those items. Is everyone comfortable moving on? Agenda item 14.2, consideration of a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent to waive the second reading of policy 7412, academic eligibility requirements for athletics and extracurricular activities. Is there a motion? Kate and Mark. And any discussion?
Yeah, I think I emailed everybody about that last paragraph there. The district shall annually review its eligibility requirements. It's a little bit vague and I know.
It said periodically, they changed it to annually.
Okay.
So that's what is up for.
Okay, but who is the district? Who's actually reviewing it? I guess, is it the principals that are associated with a certain activity? You know what I'm saying? It's still a little vague.
Yeah, there's, this kind of has a pretty far reach. So, I mean, it would be, the athletic director, it could be the extracurricular activity, advisors, the musical director. And, we will have to develop a process by which, we're reminding those people, and it will probably largely be the athletic director and the high school principal
Overseeing those.
to oversee, to make sure those reviews are occurring.
I guess it's still pretty fuzzy as to who's gonna oversee those plans.
The nature of this policy kind of makes it more fuzzy, right? Isn't that the sentiment that it goes from making academic eligibility a universal bar to a localized, depending on the curricular activity one. So I imagine when it says a district, it means the people involved in that particular activity. with administration.
I've seen firsthand what our athletic director has done in regards to this. He's done an amazing job keeping track of it. But again, with that, like to share your concern too, like some of the other activities, you know, it's just gotta be embedded, you know, some sort of procedure to follow our policy is all, to make sure that it doesn't fall through the cracks. Because we have a lot of other extracurricular clubs and I think they all fall under the same line, or same guidance.
So it's not a one size fits all. Because of there's so many differences
so
between
expansive.
clubs and and how the sports running versus drama club or something like that. And I would say, I kind of understand what Pat's saying, but I also say if we feel in the future that it's not being addressed, that we should definitely bring it back to the table.
Great. We can continue discussion. This is simply a motion to waive the second reading. So we'll open up discussion once again, but let's vote on waiving the second reading. Kate and Mark, motion and seconded, all in favor? 8-0. Agenda item 14.3 is the consideration of a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the first reading and the adoption of policy 7412 academic eligibility requirements for athletics and extracurricular activities. Is there a motion? Mark in the second. Corey. And discussion. I suppose just to briefly go backwards, just to note for the record that we're waiving the second reading because we want this policy to come into effect in ample time for the parties involved to be able to implement it. And I wanted to simply share Amanda's concern that she raised again with the board, but she's not here to raise in person, that she hesitates, that hesitate was my word. She doesn't like the word flexibility and she fears, and this is her words, that flexibility may breed inconsistency in implementation. And at least stated for the record, that's her particular critique with this policy. Any other discussion? All in favor? 8-2. Agenda item 15. Personnel instructional. Consideration of a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the following instructional personnel items A to K. Does anyone feel the need to remove anything from this consent agenda? Is there a motion? Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? 8-0, and we have some welcoming to do. So let's see. Regina, welcome. Thank you for taking the time to come out. And let's see, Kelsey. Hey. Is that it?
We got
Oh,
Olivia's.
2 Olivias, of course. They're right in front of us. Welcome. Let's do them one at a time. Olivia Pratt, welcome back again. And Olivia Ray. It's always fun to see all those names up for approval. We hope you have a really great school year. And that you're enjoying professional development. Agenda item 16.1, the approval of personnel non-instructional items. Consideration of a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the following personnel non-instructional items. A to I. Does anyone feel the need to remove anything from this consent agenda? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor? Agenda item 17, work session and discussion. Wanted to note, not posted, but this will be going around every year as a board. we sign our Pioneer School District ethic and code of conduct for school board members. And so I'll encourage all of us, not merely to sign it, but when it gets to us to give it a quick read so we can remember the code that we ourselves are committing to as a group. Thank you. Further in work session, we've got discussing a date for Board of Education picture, which is hardly that big of a deal, but might as well block it for all of our radars. We typically skip August, and I know not all of us can be here in August anyway, so I believe last year we did the meeting in September, if that works.
September 8th.
September 8th. So it's the day after Labor Day. Does it feel like it works for everyone? Pencil it in and we can revisit it in August, sure. Or you need to call your barber.
Oh, man.
Might be free. And the other item on here was board retreats. As Mr. Silverly already alluded, on July 28th, 5 to 8 p.m. We have set aside time for strategic planning and district priorities and just time together to be a board. So those are our three objectives. Be together, strategic planning for our district, and our 2026-2027 school district priorities.
And it's right here again.
It's right here, 5 to 8 p.m. on that day, and Mike Cornell will be joining us again to help in facilitation. Does anyone have anything else for work session or discussion? The dates are posted here, starting with that retreat. We have one meeting in August, one meeting in September. And our meeting in October will be at the middle school. It seems like a long way away, but the registration for the NYSBA convention will actually be opening sooner than we think. And so that is, I believe it's a Thursday to a Saturday this year. I have to confirm, but it's in Buffalo.
Okay.
And so it's super convenient in terms of our ability to access the event. So when you see Michigan's emails about, let me know if you're coming, jump on it. And hopefully we can go and.
It's usually around the first or second week in August, they start opening it up, so.
Any other important dates? No one signed up to make public comment this evening, which brings us to a proposed executive session. Consideration of a motion for the board to enter into executive session at 6:53 p.m. for the purpose of personnel matters and collective negotiations. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Kate, is there a second?
Second.
Corey, all in favor? 8-0. Brandon, we bid you farewell. Thanks for joining us on Zoom. Everyone else, there'll be no
Thank you.
further action coming out of the meeting. Thank you for your time.